race to the White House shifts to the war on terror.
The investigation is moving rapidly.
We will defeat the evil, twisted ideology of the terrorists.
Our leaders are, I don't even say weak, I say stupid.
We'll show how Trump and Clinton match up 1 week before their debate.
Auburn's about
Plus, on the lighter side, see how Auburn fans could get War Eagle stamped on Florida license plates and meet the lawmaker who could make it happen. This is Money, Power, and Politics. Okay, our first big point, Hillary Clinton could lose to Donald Trump because young voters may leave her at the altar. We now have new numbers showing Clinton has a growing problem with millennials. Look at this. Just last month, Clinton led Donald Trump among young voters by 27 points. But now, 1 month later, her lead has slipped to 9 points. And if that holds, or if she continues to slip, millennials may well do her in, and the Clinton camp knows this. That's why she's now stumping with college students, and it's why her running mate Tim Kaine is focusing on issues that young voters care about.
Do you believe in climate science or don't you? Millennials do, Hillary Clinton and I do, Donald Trump doesn't. So it's on our shoulders to make the case.
We're now 50 days away from the election, and Clinton has a ridiculous advantage in organization, but it is not translating in the polls. That's our second big point. Money is not moving the needle as it has. Clinton has swamped Donald Trump in field offices. On TV ads, Clinton has outspent Trump around 7-1. And when you add in all the PACs, it's much more than that. According to Smart Media Group, Team Clinton has spent $244 million compared to $33 million for Trump. Bottom line, money doesn't vote, people do. And that's why Jeb Bush is now out of the game and trying his hand at comedy on the Emmys.
Yeah, I'm in between jobs right now. You know you can make $12 an hour driving for Uber? Jeb exclamation point.
Well, now the nation is focused on terrorism, and polling shows more voters want, quote, a new kind of leader. This has played to Trump's advantage in the primaries, and it may yet again. But Donald Trump has started to drift off message again, and that can certainly work against him, particularly in the run-up to their first debate. And that's our third big point. Trump has a habit of saying things that are open to interpretation and can get him in trouble, like suggesting taking guns from Clinton's security team.
Take their guns away. She doesn't want guns. Let's see what happens to her.
That's a good example because the analogy is hard to follow. No one is suggesting taking guns from law enforcement or the Secret Service. And what does Trump mean by let's see what happens to her? Well, Clinton supporters claims that Trump is encouraging violence, and so the Trump campaign had to go to work to clarify and clean it up.
That's absolute nonsense. His comment was that if she didn't have all that security, she'd change her attitude about the right to keep and bear arms.
And once again, that changes the news cycle and causes distractions for Trump. Remember, this weekend we had explosions in New York and New Jersey, but much of the national political coverage focused on Trump's gun remarks and the birther issue. And that's because Trump brought the birther movement back into the campaign by claiming that the birther movement was wrong after promoting it for years, and then fact checkers from PolitiFact to factcheck.org to the Washington Post called Trump out for claiming that Clinton started it. So the Sunday talk shows focused on the birther movement while Trump squirmed and tried to bounce back on the issue of terrorism by calling the bombing a bombing before the journalist had all the facts.
I heard I was criticized for calling it correctly. What I said was exactly correct. I should be a newscaster because I called it before the news.
Trump has also reverted to name-calling again. He called New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd a neurotic dope, former Defense Secretary Robert Gates an absolute clown. When Trump has done this before, it's driven a feedback loop of distractions and criticism that takes Trump off his game and cost him in the polls. And while Trump clearly won last week, don't be surprised if Clinton gains some ground this week. The first head-to-head debate is exactly 1 week from today. So in just a few minutes, our pollster Matt Towery will join us to show how they match up and what their strategies next week will be. And after a big week of college football, Auburn fans want to make a move into Florida with Auburn license plates in our state. We'll show you how that one's already taking shape in Tallahassee. But first, we launched a funny new segment last week called Director Darren's Password Challenge. He gave each of us passwords in our ears that we have to work into the conversation, and we got a very good response from it. So tonight, I'm heading back to our kitchen table politics set for the next round with Russell and Marissa.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Kitchen Table Politics. Marissa is our reigning champ. Last time around, Director Darren gave each one of us a silly phrase that we had to work into our discussion. Russell, you bombed. I'm sorry
I
to
crashed.
Say. You crashed, and boy, she beat both of us. But this time, Darren is going to turn up the heat. Give us each more phrases that we have to work into the conversation without cracking a smile or laughing. So let's talk about the importance of ads. Certainly the Clinton camp has saturated Florida airwaves. It hasn't moved the needle as much as she would like. Tell us why.
I think that she still needs to find a way to get voters to trust her and to like her.
Soup sandwich.
What do you look for in an ad?
Well, I look for it to be more politically based, more with the issues at hand. But right now, you've got just a lot of hate being thrown each way between.
Too much of that.
Yeah. It's kind of like a soup sandwich.
A soup sandwich.
Which doesn't make any sense because you should keep them separate. You should keep the
But
politics.
the ads don't make any sense.
Right.
That's the whole point. The ads aren't making sense either. And it's just one big soup sandwich.
You have to decide, do I want that soup sandwich to be soggy or do I want that sandwich to be firm?
Right.
And then that's where you are in trying to make that
But
decision.
if it's soup, you don't have much of a choice. It's going to be soggy.
It's going to be soggy,
Unless
I
the soup
guess.
itself is dry, and then it's not soup.
It's an instant soup before you put the water in it.
Russell, what's your favorite ad?
So far?
No, let's go all the way back in time.
Morning in America.
Morning America. It was extremely effective.
Cher's costume changes. Cher's costume changes.
We have seen that commercial over and more often than Cher's costume changes.
Yeah.
The way that ad keeps coming back year after year, cycle after cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's quite a few. There are a lot of costume changes involved in that, but it keeps coming back around and around.
Santa's sweat. Santa's sweat.
But you know what I mean.
Right. Well, it takes a lot of work. Like, there's not that many days until Christmas. Until we get to the election. And it takes a lot of toil. A lot of Santa sweat goes into this sort of thing. You have to be able to make the ads, and you have to make sure that you deliver on Christmas morning.
Christmas morning being election day.
In this case, yes, it is.
All right. Closing thoughts, Marissa?
Santa's sweat. That I didn't know Santa had anything to do with the presidential election, but
Well, if you're drawing an
you
analogy
learn,
to Christmas, that's what you have to do
Yeah,
sometimes.
you learn something new every day.
Loud
I
onomatopoeia.
still think as good
Onomatopoeia. Oh, sorry, I just had a
as good
moment.
as Hillary's ads have been with going after Donald Trump, she still needs to come up with an effective campaign to promote herself.
All right. Thank you so much both for joining us. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
All right, we're clear. Thank you.
Coming up, the Auburn Nation wants a War Eagle license plate in Florida, and a state lawmaker has answered the call.
I promise you it's no joke in the Florida legislature.
And since they're rattling Florida's cage as they go along, we'll try to rattle them in our interview. State Representative Jamie Grant loves his Auburn football.
Punt, Bama punt, Sullivan to Beasley. We remember Bo over the top.
So Grant and his buddy and PR guy Kevin Cate want Florida to celebrate Auburn on our roads. While Florida does not currently offer license plates for out-of-state schools, they want to change that for the Auburn Nation.
We're going to file a bill in the Florida legislature to finally have a license tag in the state of Florida that bears the AU logo and says War Eagle.
The idea is to give Auburn alumni and fans a way to celebrate their achievements on and off the field. They need 4,000 pre-orders and already have more than 4,000 pledges. And Grant will sponsor the legislation to make this happen next year. Of course, fans of our universities and Auburn's rival Alabama may not like it.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
And Jamie Grant and Kevin Cate are already having some fun at Florida and Alabama's expense.
So we've registered iwantmyfloridaauburnplate.com, which is long enough for Alabama fans to not be able to troll it.
If they can't spell it, they can't poison this particular tree.
So we'll have some fun with Kevin and try to push his buttons in tonight's spotlight.
Okay, well, Kevin, thank you for joining us. And I have to say, bringing these Auburn plates to Florida does make some sense given the popularity of the program. You're the reigning national champs. You beat Clemson in a thriller. You've got so many great players who have come through, Julio Jones all the way back to Namath and Stabler. It just makes sense.
I just wish we would have filmed this before that Clemson game, or maybe I would have been thrown in as quarterback as the sixth quarterback. We would have had a better chance.
Oh, wait a minute. So that wasn't you?
No.
Oh, that was Bama.
Yeah, well,
but wait,
people who
still,
like Alabama get confused very easily. So
I see. But you did. You won the BCS in 2014 against Florida State. No.
You know, I teach a class on earned media at Florida State. This is Exhibit A, apparently.
Okay. Well, seriously, you've got, why not bring the plates here? You've got the legendary coach. He's won, 5 national championships already?
I'm sure your producer, Robin, is enjoying this so far, but she's probably the only one.
Oh,
only
okay.
one.
So that was the other guy. Seriously, who's your coach?
Gus Malzahn.
That's right. What, like high school coach?
He was at one time. I'll remind you, though, that Auburn has produced some extraordinary achievements. Tim Cook, the CEO of the largest company in the world, the greatest company in the world, that it looks like you're holding a product of his in your hand right now.
Okay, we've got some questions now from some folks in our newsroom. I want to start off with a question for you from Marissa.
Sure.
So if this whole Auburn tag thing doesn't work out here in Florida, how about we get a good old Gators tag? How about that? They're actually from the state of Florida, huh?
I appreciate Marissa. She looks like a Gator fan. She may already know there is a Gator plate available.
Oh, there is?
She may be just still despondent and not be able to reconcile her world because Tim Tebow was never able to beat my Auburn Tigers when he was supposedly a good quarterback, although he's a baseball player now, apparently. But there is a Gator tag in Florida already. There's also a Gator tag.
So there's a Gator tag already?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
So it's already here. People can get that. So if people do get the Auburn plate and people start laughing, can they upgrade to the Florida Gator plate?
Well, you would have to be able to have something to laugh about, I suppose, and the Gators don't have much to laugh about other than their football team.
Let's go to a question now from Kevin O'Donnell.
I think it's only fair if Auburn is accepted in the state of Florida that they trade off and take a USF tag and go to Alabama. Why not?
I think that sounds like a smart idea, and USF, of course, had a good football team for 1 or 2 years. They since don't have a good football team. However, Alabama, that's a great idea. I know that there are UF and FSU tags available all over the country. You can go to Texas and get a tag if you want to. So I think it makes sense. That's a good compromise from you, Craig. Thank you for that, to allow Florida tags in the state of Alabama, and we'll get right to work on that.
Let's move on to Chris Cato. I think he's got, I don't know if it's a question or more of a comment.
I can easily give you 5 reasons why Auburn supporters might want a Florida specialty plate. Number 5, they think a specialty plate is something you order at Waffle House. Number 4, they want to remind Florida State fans who the Noles beat for the 2013 National Championship. Number 3, they want to remind Florida where Will Muschamp earned his master's degree. Number 2, they heard that tractors here in Florida might need license plates. Number 1, being on a car in Tampa is as close to making it to this year's national championship game as Auburn will come.
I think maybe he's got a point.
I think that he's misinformed. I think Alabama fans have a tendency to overestimate their achievements. Yes, they've done some good things on the football field, and we're human enough to admit that Alabama has been good. But I come from a time when Tommy Tuberville put up 6 fingers, and we beat Alabama six years in a row, and we hoped at one point they'd have their football program back again. And certainly signing a deal with the devil of Nick Saban helped them do that.
Kevin, thank you. And now, tongue-in-cheek throughout the whole interview, let's take it serious now. More than 4,000 people have pledged. What does it take, and what are the chances of this actually happening?
Representative Jamie Grant, who could possibly be a future Speaker of the House here in Florida, went to Auburn. He was part of my class. He is going to file legislation in the 2017 legislative session, A, so we can have hilarious conversations like this, but B, to get that Auburn license plate in Florida. We've seen Florida plates all over the country. It's time to bring an Auburn plate to the state of Florida. We've got more than 4,000 people already committed to sign it up, which would make it one of the most popular collegiate tags that we have in the state of Florida, because everybody loves Auburn. War Eagle, we are a family and we believe it, and we can make it happen. Thank you, Jamie Grant, for doing this for us.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, coming up, Fox 13 pollster Matt Towery shows us what to expect in Trump and Clinton's first debate. Plus, our government granted citizenship to hundreds of immigrants by mistake.
Okay, let's bring in our pollster, Matt Towery. Matt, we are now 1 week away from the first head-to-head debate between Trump and Clinton. To what extent can that moment in time move the needle?
Well, I think all 3 will move the needle. You will have sort of like Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3. And each one of those are going to be heavily watched, and I don't expect any one candidate to win all three. So they are going to move the polls one way or another, even if it just leaves everyone more confused after the first one. Some of the things I'm looking for, though, is will WikiLeaks drop another hit of emails on Clinton? That could certainly upset the cadence for her. And on the other side, will Donald Trump run into some new controversy that we don't even know about that might possibly be rolled out by the Democrats to put him off his cadence that night? So there are a lot of external factors that will have an effect on how that debate turns out.
And give us a prediction, which Donald Trump do you think we're going to see in that first debate? Will it be the feisty Donald Trump we've seen in prior Republican debates, or will it be the more disciplined Trump that we've seen in recent weeks?
Well, I think the Trump campaign expects Hillary Clinton to needle Trump as hard as she can. And I think they're probably going to tell Trump not to go for the bait. Whether he can do it or not is another thing. We all know Donald Trump is unpredictable. I think he will try to be calm and cool, but whether he can take the real needling from Hillary Clinton, who is very effective. I mean, she's a very effective debater as well. So it's going to be a question. I don't know who we'll see. We'll know by the end of it, won't we?
What should Hillary Clinton do? Should she needle him? Should that be her approach from your perspective?
Well, if she's going to needle him, she's got to do it in a way that she doesn't come across as being too manipulative, because that's the problem that she's facing right now. Is the campaign seemed like they were manipulating folks over the pneumonia issue, and of course the whole issue of past emails and the like. So she's going to have to. She can be, by the way, I know both of these individuals, have met both of them privately, and they can both be very charming people. Believe me, both of them are. And if they would let that side of their personality show, one or the other would win this thing, but I just don't know if they'll be able to do that.
Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and Rocky 3, but how much in each one of those rounds, say 1 week from today, can the needle move one way or the other?
Oh, a lot. If someone has a real knockout blow in the first debate, then it may be hard for the other campaign to ever recover. There are instances where campaigns have recovered. Remember Ronald Reagan had a horrible debate against Walter Mondale. It seemed like he didn't know where he was or what he was doing, came back the next time, made one joke about it, and won the election. So you can turn things around. But 3 debates, boy, that's a lot to have. We're really pushing it in this country, having candidates who are fighting like this take on each other 3 times. But I think each one you'll see the needle move, and that last debate, in my judgment, will probably be the big one, the one that decides everything.
Matt, thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you, Craig.
Coming up, a government mix-up you may not believe. Instead of getting deported, hundreds of illegal immigrants get citizenship and security clearance. So our government removed or ordered immigrants to be removed, but some who returned were granted citizenship, though they were potentially ineligible. Federal inspectors blame lapses in communication and gaps in fingerprint records. The feds say they're working to fix these lapses. But on top of that, in at least 3 cases, immigrants who had been deported later received security credentials to work in sensitive areas of airports or seaports. The government later revoked their credentials. We'll search for Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics on YouTube. We have an in-depth look at illegal immigration and security concerns across Florida. That's our show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow night.